Contemporary Russian art goes through a real boom today. New galleries open and new names get popular. Interesting artists, virtually unknown yesterday, who raise the appetite of collectors and intrigue their viewers. The fashion for everything bearing the label Made in USSR is over, and these new authors from Russia have new ways to express themselves. Spectacular performances, provocative exhibitions, new personalities and concepts are the new face of contemporary art. The art scene is in a phase of dynamic development, and this is a most interesting situation. The contemporary exhibition Russia 2 gathered the brightest and freshest artists. Here, non-trivial installations and video art, a recent technique, were presented. The paintings were unusual, a far cry from the omnipresent social realism that dominated till not so long ago. Russia 2 was organized by the gallery of Marat Gельман, who to a large extent is the image of contemporary Russian art.
Наша идея была, что мы должны выстроить собственный контекст, собственный социум. И таким образом родился проект «Россия-2», который сейчас уже перерос в выставку. В нем уже участвуют разные люди, которые тоже согласны, что надо просто расширять жизненное пространство для искусства, для человеческих отношений.
Marat Gельман opened his gallery in 1990. Today it is among Moscow's most famous. Its opening is often seen as a starting point for the formation of a contemporary Russian art market. The gallery presents the most famous and emblematic authors. Their work regularly borders on scandal, but this helps to raise the interest with everything associated with the name Gельман even further. As one of the most famous gallery owners, he's quite optimistic about the developments that are taking place in the Russian art market.
Сейчас происходит какая-то фантастика, то есть это касается не только восприятия, но и касается каких-то там, условно говоря, коммерческих дел. То есть прошлый год был фактически уникальным. То есть в геометрической прогрессии увеличивается количество коллекционеров, количество галерей, соответственно. Не так быстро увеличивается количество хороших художников, с этим всегда есть проблемы.
Marat himself is a passionate art collector. Even his flat reminds rather of a gallery, and the walls of his home, where he lives with his family, are covered with the works of his favorite artists. Marat is always busy, even if he's sick, since his attention is needed continuously by new exhibition projects, the propaganda campaign for modern art, the dialogue with the press. He's preparing to show an updated Russia 2 in Berlin. His wish to communicate with extraordinary people is the origin of his collecting and the creation of his gallery. Marat was born in Kishinev, and during his studies he worked part-time at a theatre, and it was there that he first met real artists.
В общем, такая кишиневская скука, в которой я был, значит, она, значит, как бы меня все время выталкивала, и как бы я так очень сильно переживал, все время ездил в Москву, пытался поменять свою жизнь. Это было очень непросто, и одной из попыток поменять свою жизнь еще в советское время, это было, значит, я там писал в местную кишиневскую прессу о московских выставках. Мне казалось, что это какой-то... То есть хотелось какой-то свободной жизни, не служить.
Today Marat Gельман is busy with the work he loves to do. Marat is looking all the time for new forms, and he finds them. For example, he's now interested in comics, since they are en vogue now. And to be presented by his gallery means to become a famous artist.
Сегодня русское искусство знают. То есть что значит? Ну, знают 7-10 имен. То есть, там, можно говорить о том, что у нас сегодня интересных художников там 30-40, а на Западе знают, значит, 7-10.
Russian art is enlivened by the comics of Ostretsov and Litishevsky, performances by the world-famous Blue Noses, and painters Dubosarsky and Vinogradov, who sell their sotsart to international fairs. Oleg Kulик performs as the dog-beast man of the future. It seems he has bitten citizens of almost the whole world, from Swiss policemen to Muscovite bystanders. Kулик is one of the most famous artists of the moment.
Я вижу будущую Россию, когда люди так сильно трансформируют свой позвоночник при помощи генной инженерии, что смогут двигаться на четвереньках и передвигаться на огромных скоростях. Не будет машин, будут только грунтовые мягкие дороги, мощные лапы такие, разовьются специальные такие тонкие руки для работы на компьютере и там записных книжек, считать кредитные карточки, заниматься любовью. И такие ноги для передвижения. Отличные позвоночники, хорошие зубы, вообще очень здоровые, спортивные. Вообще никаких машин. Ну, иногда такие перелеты какие-то специальные, такие, хоп, засыпаешь, и ты где-то в Канаде тоже уже бежишь там по дорожке, за белками там, такого размером с динозавром.
He understands his body as a canvas, at times covering it with mud, at others making it all shiny with many small mirrors. Kулик thinks that man is just such a creature of nature as any other animal. As Oleg Kулик states, his views have been heavily influenced by the famous Russian writer Lev Tolstoy, who appealed to people to become more simple and to get closer to nature. The artist took a wax copy of Lev Tolstoy, as he is writing one of his philosophical texts, and placed it into a life-size cage with a real chicken.
Как мне жизнь покалечил Лев Толстой. Я всю жизнь думал, как ему отомстить. И я понял, что нужно реализовать его мечту, чтобы жизнь была выше искусства. И теперь это такая месть художника писателю. Я хочу слово вернуть на свое место, а иллюстрация, чтобы была более важным, более интересным. Визуальность правит миром.
Kулик sees beauty in the most unexpected places. The inside of a cow, for example. A whole universe opens up to the eyes of the artist, if you look there from a special point of view. This is how Oleg Kулик conceives his view into the eternity of art. You can access art in different ways. The art scene in leading galleries is the usual way in Moscow. In St. Petersburg, it's different, even although the two cities are practically one cultural space. St. Petersburg is the second capital of Russia. It is famous for its glamorous historical architecture and great museums, but also for its large Leningrad underground. The strongest traditions for alternative arts in Russia are based in the second capital. Down in the belly of a typical St. Petersburg courtyard that's enough of a labyrinth to lose one's way, the Museum for Nonconformist Art can be found. This former squat has become one of the most famous gallery spaces of the city on the Neva. Here, Irina Bykova holds her exhibitions and regular masterclasses. Irina does not use any loud actions or performances in order to promote her artistic challenge. The viewers are rather immersed into Oriental philosophy that transpires from her work and her unique technique. At home in her flat, that for the moment remains her sole studio, Irina demonstrates how her paintings are done.
Процесс достаточно простой. Только выбрать, какой песок и куда его залить. Как я говорю, этому учишься 10 лет.
Sand is the main material for her paintings, and she not only takes into account the sand structure, but also the distinguished colours of each kind of sand. This quality of the sand allows her to form an entire spectrum without using any artificial colourings. Irina also developed her own special technology, how to fix the sand using modern polymer components, that allows her works to become really eternal pieces. Everybody who comes to visit one of her masterclasses can see with their own eyes if all this is true.
Но почему я не взяла топор, хотя я знала, что будет топор? Когда я дома попробовала работать топором, я поняла, что топор ломает все.
She teaches how to create sand pictures to all who want to learn. Irina tells about the characteristics of the materials and shows how to work with it, shows different sand samples that have been brought to her from various spots of the world. This kind of natural art allows her to be in harmony with herself, with nature and the environment. It is this harmony that she wishes to teach to the people, since she feels a special energy working with the sand.
Через работу я хочу, чтобы люди увидели, какой мир красивый через песок, Я рассказываю, какие места, какие люди мне привозят песок. Вот на выставке я всех пригласила, кто мне привез песок, и сделала картину из этого. Каждому позвонила, сказала, приходите, смотрите свой песок вот в произведении искусства. Вот. Люди смотрят и говорят, о, это мой песочек, там туда-сюда. Детям как это интересно.
Friends and acquaintances have learned to like her art, and they bring her sand from everywhere. She now has 70 different kinds of sand from 15 countries. As a student of St. Petersburg's most prestigious art academy, Irina tried to find herself through painting and graphic work. And during her studies, she had tried a lot of different styles and techniques. But one day, instead of an ordinary souvenir, she brought back home from a journey some sand with unusual colouring. As she did a couple of pieces from this completely new material, she found this kind of calm and belief in the future that can be found with people who have discovered the meaning of life for themselves. There is a desire for fame here and now, for worldwide fame, a desire to see one's name rendered in stone and bronze for eternity, or maybe even to create a monument to the future by one's own hands, or maybe not one, but many. These are artists who are known by everybody, because it's hard not to know them. Zurab Tsereteli is such an artist in Russia. He's an official artist, and his large monuments stand in many countries of the world. His monument for the memory of the victims of 9/11 will be put up in New York. It's a crystal teardrop that emanates water, imitating lasting tears. It will be cast in titanium and framed by bronze.
Opening of the monument will take place on September 11, 2006.
Zurab Tsereteli is a Georgian. At one time his work was highly acclaimed by Chagall and Picasso, and his creative biography is unusually rich. Today he's the president of the Russian Academy for the Fine Arts, and also a member of the French Order of Honors, the so-called Immortals. It's almost ironic to recall now the time he decided to become an artist.
У меня был дядя, я это часто рассказываю, он был очень интересный, знаете, очень атлет, спортивный, очень красивый. Когда он ходил на улице, я за ними бегаю и смотрел, как женщины останавливались и смотрели. Знаете, такая интересная. Я думаю, что если он художник был, я думаю, что если я начну также стану художником, я буду похож на него.
The personal exhibition of Zurab Tsereteli was held in the most prestigious exhibition hall of the country, the Moscow Manege. It gave a broad overview of the artistic feats of this artist and sculptor over the last few years. His sculpted portraits of famous personalities and large bronzes, as well as a selection of his paintings, attracted large numbers of visitors. In the creative world of this master, born and educated in Georgia, the Georgian folk art can be easily detected as a continuous theme. This personal exhibition of Zurab Tsereteli was an important event for the high society of Moscow. State bureaucrats of high and medium status, and people who have close ties to the reigning class. It was an occasion to meet other well-established figures of the art scene, renowned musicians and pop singers, as well as the leading businessmen of the country. Zurab Tsereteli has the support of the mayor of Moscow, Mr. Yuri Lushkov. It's precisely due to the favours of the head of the city that his sculptures noticeably changed the city landscape. You may find them at popular places, even close to the Kremlin. But the general acceptance of Tsereteli as a talented sculptor is elusive. The most famous monumental sculpture erected in Moscow is called Pyotr Christopherovich Columbus. The face of Peter the Great is grafted on top of a tall Columbus, intended as a gift to celebrate 500 years of the discovery of America, but no city in the New World would accept it. Muscovites also lack enthusiasm for it. Yet another monument to the Georgian alphabet was nicknamed by the public the Shashlik, and other monuments also attract sarcasm. Without paying too much attention to this storm of criticism, Zurab Tsereteli keeps on working. His great discipline and personal conviction that his art is needed by the people helps him. He arrives every morning at 6 at his painting studio where his colours and a new arrangement are waiting for him. Up to this day, as in his student years, the master starts each new day with his studies. Tsereteli often presents these paintings to people he likes.
Вот это моя жизнь. Вот здесь и какая-то добрые какие-то вещи показать не эгоически, как некоторые, только надо похоже. Нет, развивать свои личные индивидуальные моменты. Потому что, ну, меня лично так воспитывали. Такие педагоги были у меня.
But Tsereteli's contribution to the history of Russian art is not only in his pieces of art. His achievement is the creation of the first museum of contemporary art in Moscow that is based on the personal collection of the artist. He collected the best Russian international artists, starting from the avant-garde of the 20th century up to present day. These collections get continually replenished. Well respected by the authorities, he is currently lobbying the Russian State Duma for a new law regulating the future activities of art merchants in Russia.
У нас нету законы, знаете, ну не такие законы, которые должны существовать. Это может только создать те люди, которые творчеством занимаются. Там много.
People who embellish the lives of others with their creative work, who at times don't even need the special help of sponsors, but just desire to be left to work in peace, do live in rather different parts of Russia. The historic Russian town of Borovsk is famous for its traditional architecture, but it was so far off the beaten track that it missed being included in the popular Golden Ring tourist route. In fact, it's not easy to get there. In Soviet times, it was poorly supported by the state, and slowly its buildings deteriorated. Life in this provincial town is quiet, not very eventful, so it would normally be a place of leisurely boredom, if not for the arrival of an unusual artist.
Это здание пекарни. Значит, я здесь хотел показать все, что связано с хлебом. А вот эта конструктивно проходящая труба по зданию, и над ней большой кусок глухой стены, подходящий для фрески, вот использовал таким образом, что обыграл эту трубу.
Vladimir Ovchinnikov is not an artist by training, but by his own profession. Trained as a construction engineer, when he became a pensioner, he bought a house here in Borovsk that had charmed him with its old beauty, and he stayed. Then he had this idea that he wanted to work with the cityscape and beautify it, and he started to paint first fences and blind walls in a way that his fantasy dictated. Vladimir is a primitive artist, but his art takes much from the traditional Russian style of ornamental painting, as well as from political posters and book publishing, and his work looks somewhat like a decoration for a fairy tale that transforms Borovsk into an unusual place and makes its inhabitants appear to be somewhat dreamers.
У нас был мэр, Егерев Александр Иванович его звали, который меня в этом деле поддержал. И 3 года я работал при нем очень продуктивно. И он не то что сильно помогал там, материально, он мне, правда, дал 1000 рублей на кисти краски, но всячески отражал наезды разные, там архитектор пытался запретить эти работы. Вот. Иногда даже какое-то здание приводил в порядок, чтобы на нем можно было поработать. Обеспечивал меня вышкой, если надо на высоте было что-то сделать. Короче говоря, это человек, как бы я сказал, с государственным подходом, и он это дело понимал.
But after the old mayor had to relinquish power, the new incumbent ordered some of Ovchinnikov's work to be painted over. The new mayor did not share the sympathies of his predecessor for the free dialogue of the artist with his city. So today, Vladimir Ovchinnikov does not continue creating his pieces for this open exhibition under the clear sky. But every day he makes a tour and checks how many of the frescoes that bring not less tourists into this city than the ancient churches remain unharmed.
У нас был на самом деле выбор между Ярославлем и Боровском, но вот эта уникальность этого места нас больше.
The bureaucrats decided to become censors and art experts in one.
Люди из администрации говорят, недовольны этой работой, говорят, что слишком большой огурец нарисовал. Вот и все.
Vladimir depicted local inhabitant Mikhail on the gates of Mikhail's garage. Mikhail offered to pay at least for paints, but the artist refused to take money. Now they are friends.
Vladimir does not wait for grants, has no hunger for personal shows, international fame. He has no need for the galleries in the capital and foreign curators. He does not want to transform his art into a way to make money. His only desire is that he will be allowed to continue to create his pictures of the life of this old town on the walls of its houses, and wants to bring joy to the surprised guests and win the local population over to the cause of art, and that they will love their city and have a reason to be proud.
Это самое, была бы стена, а то идешь и любуешься море. Ой, это красота, корабль, как я люблю море, это вообще чудо.
The true value of a contemporary piece of art is certainly not always a question of the price. It's impossible to say already who of these artists will find a place in the history of art. We can only observe the processes and try to guess a little bit. Today in Russian art there is no mainstream or even major tendencies. There are just different personalities. But together they are the face of contemporary Russian art.